We are here to bring a new type of news show.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Bringing news just for you. It's Tuesday, April 22nd here in Seoul. I'm Song Yujin, and you're tuning into News Generation. Joining us today is Kwon Jian.
Good morning, Jin.
Good morning, Jian, and Kang Min-ju.
Thanks for having me today.
Happy Tuesday. Now, both are here to speak on behalf of those in their 20s and 30s. Now, Tuesday is when we dive into what's buzzing on Korea's cultural front. Take a look at the screen to find out more about today's topic. There's one topic that never gets old on NewsGen, and that's love. We've been covering everything from dating to marriage trends and the low birth rate in Korea. But today, we're turning the spotlight to couples who've said, I do. What's marriage looking like for Korea's younger generations? So we're bringing this familiar topic to the show once again today because there has actually been some good news, which is marriages are on the rise here in Korea. So Jian, what do the latest numbers tell us about marriage trends?
Yes, so how many people get married? I'll give you some numbers here. According to Statistics Korea, 220,000 couples tied the knot in Korea last year, which is the highest number in 5 years since 2019 when it reached 239,000. That's an increase of about 28,000 from the previous year. The year-on-year growth rate hit 14.8%, the largest jump since national marriage statistics began in 1970. In fact, Korea's crude marriage rate, which is the number of marriages per 1,000 people, this had been declining every year since 2014, but this year it rose for the first time, so it's quite an incredible figure. So more couples are clearly choosing to say, I do, again.
This is especially exciting news given the fact that we have been seeing less marriages and naturally low birth rate has been a really big concern here in Korea.
Good news indeed, yes.
Right, and another trend we're noticing in this report and statistics is that more couples are tying the knot later in life, especially compared to previous generations. So Moon-ju, please break us down on the stats on that.
Yeah, of course. So the average age for the first-time marriages in South Korea is 33.9 for men and 31.6 for women. So percentage-wise, 39.1% of men and 37.9% of women marry in their early 30s, making this age group the prime age for both genders to tie the knot. So interesting fact is that the proportion of couples where the woman is older than men has been reached its highest point since this kind of statistics has been recorded in 1990, accounting for 99.9%, approximately 20% of all first-time marriages.
And this is quite a very different trend than what we've seen in the past, because in the past we've seen a lot of people getting married in their 20s, and also it was mostly men who were older than women.
Yeah, exactly.
But now the trend is reversing. And besides this, Jian, were there any other parts of the statistics that really caught your attention? You found it new?
Well, when it comes to love, there are no borders. I'm talking about international marriage. Well, Korea is seeing a growing number of international marriages. Last year, there were 21,000 marriages between Koreans and foreign nationals, a 5.3% increase from the year before. In particular, marriages between Korean men and Japanese women saw a notable rise. Last year, in 2024, there were 1,176 such cases, up 40% from 840 cases in the previous year. Korean men mostly married women from Vietnam, China, Thailand, and Japan, while Korean women were more likely to marry men from the United States, China, and Vietnam. So borders may divide nations, but not their hearts and love.
Right, so an increase in international marriages is another noticeable shift we're seeing in terms of marriage trends here in Korea. So once again, Korea has long been sounding the alarm over declining marriage and birth rates, so this uptick is definitely great news for the country. But I want to ask our panelists, what could be behind this rebound in marriage numbers?
Well, that would be a good question, but rebound in marriage numbers could be, there will be many elements for that because of the low birth rate. The government is actually implementing lots of policies, and they do have them strategies for the people.
And what could be some other reasons, Moon-ju?
Yeah, so according to the National Statistics Office, one of the major factors is that the echo boom generation, which is the children of the baby boomers, the first baby boomers, has now reached the prime age for their marriages. So this generation has a higher annual birth rate of around 690,000 to 730,000, which is significantly larger compared to the preceding and the succeeding generations. And so as the pie itself grows, the marriage rates have also increased just naturally. And additionally, the National Statistics Office also noted that while the number of marriages hit a record low during the COVID-19 pandemic, recent data shows a rebound, indicating that the effects of endemic transition may still be playing its role in the marriage rates.
Because during the COVID pandemic, we saw a lot of couples delaying and pushing back their marriages. So now might be the best time they are tying their knot.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Right, but however, despite a growing number of marriages, a lot of young people are staying single. So, Jiyeon, please share data on that, and let's also talk about what might be holding these young people from tying the knot, actually.
Well, as of 2023, 51% of people in their 30s in Korea were unmarried. That's nearly 4 times higher than in the year 2000. The biggest reason people are avoiding marriage is financial pressure, financial reason. Well, in Korea, it's common to buy a newlywed home when getting married. But with rising housing prices, marriage is now often seen as a commitment that comes with a heavy financial burden.
With a big price tag.
That's right, financial pressure for all of the people. So for many, it's no longer a fairy tale story, fairy tale ending for them. It's a financial beginning for lots of people.
And it's not just housing, because when we look at the overall process until you do your wedding ceremony, it costs a lot. The dress and the photo shoots and the wedding venue.
Everything is money.
Everything is money. Everything comes with a hefty price tag. What do you think, Moonju?
Yeah, financial burden is definitely the one. But in addition to that one, growing aversion to remnants of patriarchy in South Korea and an increased emphasis on personal happiness have emerged as key reasons for choosing not to marry among young generations. So members of the MZ generation, for instance, often celebrate their individuality by holding non-marriage ceremonies, by wearing dresses and having photo shoots individually. So reflecting this culture shift, in fact, some companies are now providing some non-marriage allowances to promote some fairness with those who are getting married and receiving traditional monetary gifts or blessing monies, which you can only receive when holding a wedding ceremony. So I think that's kind of culture shift that we are experiencing these days, yeah.
So it's not just growing financial burden, but also a change in perception, because in the past it was considered quite uncommon to not get married here in Korea, but nowadays many people are thinking that marriage is optional.
Yeah, of course. I think there are more than that we are thinking right now. Yeah.
Right, all right. So we also reached out to our viewers to get their take on this issue. We asked, by what age would you ideally want to get married? We gave them 4 options: 20s, 30s, 40s, or I'm not planning to get married. The most popular choice was in my 30s, with 50% of our viewers choosing this option. Next was I prefer not to get married, with 21%, and that was followed by in my 20s with 18% and in my 40s with 12%. And we're going to take a look at some of our viewers' personal responses. Our first comment for this Tuesday is by Benny D97. I want to get married in my 30s because it's a good time to enter a new phase of life with strong motivation and with that special someone. Nest or Portuguese 8964 says, I already feel like I'm getting married as I am 22 years old, but nobody trusts me. Endless Curiosity 95, marriage comes with so many responsibilities. It's nice to stay single and just date. So we've taken at the diverse opinions from our viewers. Now, to dig deeper into the thoughts and concerns of our generation regarding marriage, we'll soon be joined by a young Korean guest right after the break. Don't go away.
NewsGen wants to hear from you. Go to YouTube and search our channel Arirang News. Click Community and leave a comment down below. Make a new type of news with us.
We're pleased to welcome Korean millennial Kang Kyung-dong to our show today. Welcome back to the show, Kyung-dong.
Hi, everyone. Good morning.
Good morning. So, Kyung-dong, we'd first like to ask you, do you see yourself getting married someday? Why or why not?
I think I will definitely get married in the future. I can create emotional connection. You guys know humans are wired for connection. Marriage can give a sense of having someone to rely on during hard times, not facing life alone, emotionally or practically. Having someone to share emotions and life with means a lot. Someone who shares your happiness on good days, and someone who can be by your side without saying a word on tough days. This kind of process makes our life less lonely and much warmer. I want my life companion to make plans, share dreams, routines, and memories, and navigate challenges as a team. So we can spend every moment when we're happy or not, and overcome a lot of difficulties we get in our daily life. Marriage is also tied to creating a stable home environment for future children. I wish to have a child who resembles me and start a family. I'm pretty sure most Koreans would agree with this point. Therefore, I think marriage is not about meeting perfect people, but the courage to carry imperfections together. This is why I want to get married in the future.
I like the point that imperfection or to perfection. Well, Kyung-dong, everyone seems to have their own list of what needs to be in place before tying the knot, whether it's their job, career, savings, or finding the right person, their Mr. Right, or your significant other. Do you have any personal priorities before getting married?
I can say there are three reasons for that question. The first one is emotional maturity. I would want both of us to be able to, for example, take responsibility for our own baggage, apologize when we're wrong, stay when it's hard, not just when it's fun. It's not about being perfect, as I mentioned. It's about being aware and willing to grow. The second one is shared financial transparency. Money doesn't need to be perfect, but we should be honest about debts, habits, and goals. We should respect each other's approach to spending and saving. Based on this trust, it can lead to greater transparency for the future spending. The last one is live the experience together. Before marriage, I want to have seen each other in hard seasons, for example, when we get stress, grief, boredom, laugh together, cry together, maybe even argued a little and learn from it. Because love isn't just proven in the good moments; it can be revealed when we feel emotionally unwell.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And our last question for you today is on more of like a broader note. Do you think marriage these days is necessary, or do you think it's more of an optional in today's world?
Well, I can say marriage is becoming a choice, not a default. Historically, marriage was more about survival and structure. In many cultures, marriage was related to economic security, family alliances, inheritance, and gender roles. It was often a social contract more than a romantic decision, especially for women who were historically limited in autonomy without the marriage. But today, people have more options and freedom. Financial independence means we don't have to marry to live securely. And cohabitation, long-term dating, or being single are more accepted and common these days. Also, career priorities and self-development is considered as an important factors as well. Legal rights like inheritance, joint ownership, or child custody are more flexible, but I guess this reason varies by country. However, for some societies, marriage still matters because of cultural or religious importance, legal benefits, and social recognition. Therefore, marriage is not essential, as I mentioned before. I believe that we can definitely live a wonderful life being alone or with friends or in a different way. Thank you for listening.
Couldn't agree more. All right, Kyung-dong, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So as we mentioned at the top of our broadcast, for our parents and grandparents' generation, marriage was considered a rite of passage, a box that you should definitely tick on once you hit a certain age here in Korea. But today, many see it as a personal choice, not a social obligation. As our guest Kyungdo mentioned, it seems more like a choice than a default. So wrapping up our discussion today, we're going to hear from our panelists, starting with you, Juyeon. You are married, you currently have kids. What do you think are the pros and cons of saying I do and choosing to stay single?
It's quite embarrassing to say that, well, but I think I reckon marriage is one of those life experiences that's worth having it. If the timing feels right and the opportunity comes to you. I was perfectly happy on my own. I was happy with being single. I really was, but being with him, with my significant other, made the ordinary feel a little more special. I'm still shy to say this right now. But, and
Hope he's watching right now.
I'm not sure, but and another joy of marriage, becoming a family. I mean, having a child, not just a couple. Having a child change everything in the most beautiful way. Well, there was a lot of mess indeed, but I'm talking about the laughter at breakfast, tiny hands in your stories before bed, and of course, it's not always easy. They ask you a lot of questions, you know. However, sharing everyday life with someone that you care, that's what matters. It's loud, but it's lovely. And I
Loud but
wonder,
lovely.
yeah, I wouldn't trade it for anything. So still debating. I do might be the answer.
Wow. And I've heard that a lot of people say getting married and having kids kind of opens up a completely new chapter of your life.
Having a
So
new journey, new chapter.
you'd say
new
it's
life.
a happy journey.
Yes.
All right.
You've got to do it, you know.
You got to do it. Then Munja, I think you'll be able to give us another perspective because you're currently single. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, as a person who hasn't already opened a new chapter yet, and as
But are you willing to in the future?
hopefully,
Hopefully.
and I'm willing to. So as someone who is currently both unmarried and single, I believe being too preoccupied with living in present and like having too hectic life is like the biggest barrier these days. So as Juyeon mentioned, for a marriage to happen, right timing and right person should precede to marry someone. But I think in my case, my perspective, I think I'm navigating too much, through this like intense daily routine, having very little time to start a new relationship. And also these days, I think it's challenging to consider marriage, especially if you're single. Like it is very hard to meet someone at work, and it's quite
less
rare.
opportunities?
Yeah, very less opportunities. And unless you've been seeing someone since your academic years and
when you were in
maintaining a long
college.
relationship, I think it's kind of very challenging for young generations to start a new relationship these days. And also, there are some advantages of staying solo or single.
Please tell us.
I mean, I've been used to this single life so long that I'm very hesitant to break out from, because I'm enjoying my personal freedom, and also I only need to care for myself, right? So I think that's the advantage. However, after hearing from Juyeon,
Are you jealous?
yeah, I'm jealous. I'm very jealous of her. I do feel that marrying could add so much value and insights to my life. So hopefully, I can marry in the long future.
I'm sure
you
will.
will.
Thank you. Thank
Hopefully
you.
you will be able to find the love of your life really soon.
Yeah, hopefully.
Aw.
Please.
Hopefully. And that's all we have for this edition of News Generation, but we will be back tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Korea time. Special thanks to Kwon Ji-yeon.
My pleasure.
Thank you. And Kang Mun-ju.
Thanks for having me today.
Thank you. And to our viewers, thank you for spending time with us, and hope you tune in tomorrow, Wednesday, as well. We are News Generation.